Okay, so let's analyze first the previous year question, and this is the syllabus which is written in the GS-3, conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, environmental impact assessment. What you have to note here is this word. See this word. Generally, while covering this topic, we ignore this one, environmental impact assessment. This word is directly mentioned in the syllabus. And if you see the previous year question, many questions are being directly asked or around this particular topic. So environmental impact assessment generally we cover as a component of environment, but we need to give emphasis to this particular topic, that is environment impact assessment. Other is that this is nothing but the conservation of biodiversity including forest. Environmental pollution is the topic, and degradation, this is nothing but the pollution and degradation. Okay, here the current climate change topic is directly not mentioned, but this environmental degradation you can consider as the climate change. Okay, so this is the syllabus. If you will see, syllabus covers this part. The first is the conservation, which is nothing but the biodiversity. The questions related to the biodiversity conservation they can ask. Second is the environmental pollution. We can call it as the pollution topic is very important. So the questions in the mains they can ask from this. Next is the degradation. You can cover it as the climate change, the climatic degradation. And the fourth is this environment impact assessment. This 4 area is non-negotiable to cover this particular topic, environment. Okay, so 4 areas should be our focus: biodiversity, pollution, climate change, environment impact assessment. This is the the division of the subject. Now if you see the previous year questions, how they are asking the questions. See, the first type of question we have observed in the geography also similar question. The consequences question is the most common. See, impact, how India will be affected. Okay, this is most common. Ecological and economic benefit, that is impact of sand mining. Okay, and then you have the effects of coastal erosion, impact on India of this IPCC. Okay, so this impact is the most common question. Okay, so they can give any environmental hazard, environmental degradation like sand mining, sometime like the river coastal erosion, sometime the coral degradation, sometime mangrove degradation. They can change the topic, but what they are asking is what can be the environmental impact, mostly the environmental impact. What can be the environmental impact? So that is the one pattern of we can identify from this, that impact on environment, environmental impact, consequences mostly on the environmental angle is the most important part. We need to be prepared of it. Now the environmental angle, if they are asking, we can create the template for the environmental aspect, so that can give us some predictability to write some of the questions. So it is not like the earlier only they were asking. This has been even in the 2021-23 they are asking the questions related to that. So this is the first thing we need to be careful. The second thing is that if impact is there, they are asking what measures to be taken in GS-3. Now GS-3, if you see, mostly questions being asked from the disaster management also, how you are going to mitigate the disasters, right? So here also you see the strategies which may be adopted. Okay, strategies they are asking, which strategy can be adopted, strategies which can be adopted, what quantum leaps can help, that is what initiative can help, measures, suggest the measure, how do we remove. What these are denoting, along with the consequences, they are asking us. Second type is the control measures, coastal management technique, what techniques can be followed to manage them, mitigation measures, alternative technologies. These are nothing but the measures they are asking. So first the consequences, second is the measure is important from this environment topic. Next analysis, what we found is that they are asking the initiatives on top basis. Initiatives questions in GS1 is less, But GS3 questions, if you see, the more number of questions are being asked on the what initiative has been taken by the government, like the concept of go and non-go by the government, the legal provisions, Namami Gange National Mission, this is the initiative by the government. Similarly, see this draft environment impact assessment, direct question from impact assessment. This is not like the any initiative, this is the directly they are asking from this syllabus itself. Jal Shakti Abhiyan, simply they are asking the features. Here you can't prepare any template. This is the feature they are asking, we need to prepare the scheme. Second is the National Clean Air Program. Here also you can't, directly they are asking key features. Mostly they asked in 2020. Similarly, at the international level, Green Grid Initiative, one world wala, some initiative is there, na? Under International Solar Alliance, one world, one sun, one grid initiative. So that they asked, that was news. It was in the news in 2021. That's why they asked this. Similarly, this scheme was the news in that year. This also was news in the year. So currently, any scheme which is in the news related to the environment, they can ask the features of that particular topic. Here also they are asking like global air quality guidelines. This is also initiative. Again, they have repeated this question. Outcomes of the 26th session. This Gothenburg Protocol, National Wetland Conservation Program. These are random questions. I mean, you can't predict this government initiatives. So what we can do till max in this particular thing, randomly they are picking the like Gothenburg Protocol. I mean the some important initiatives they are asking. What we can prepare is that in general we need to prepare certain initiative for the important hazard, environment hazard, for air pollution, to tackle air pollution, what initiatives taken, to tackle water pollution, what initiatives taken. So initiative should be prepared. For that also, how to write that structure we'll see, but initiative needs to be prepared for the different topic. Along with that, we need to prepare the initiatives taken, particularly major scheme. If major scheme is there, their feature. Third is that at international level, if any conference, especially this COP or CBD, these kind of conventions are there. If conventions is taking place, what are the outcomes? That we have to mug up. I mean, that anyhow we prepare for the prelims. Here also we need to prepare for the mains. So those are the direct question, not very analytical question. These are direct. Explain 1999 Gothenburg Protocol. What template you can prepare? Nothing, not possible, right? It's a direct question. So for such kind of question, we should be prepared in this kind of paper. So the three, if we summarize what I told just now, we can identify that the environment topic have three type of questions. Question number 1, 2, 3, or we can say in the template, one is the impact they are asking. Second, they are asking measures, or let's say solutions. Let's write as solutions. Third, they are asking measures taken, or let's write as the initiatives. Here they are asking the national level as well as international level initiatives they are asking. Okay, these are the three where the pattern can be created. The fourth type what we are observing is nothing but the schemes, features and conference outcomes. These are the common scheme or policies, their features, conference outcome. So this is the area where UPSC is picking questions, but where we cannot prepare the templates. That's difficult to prepare. But what we can prepare is the impact solution initiative. Here we can somewhat prepare the templates and the framework for it. Here we need to prepare more directly. Okay, so keep in mind while preparing the environment, this analysis of the previous year question, what exactly they are asking. Okay, Now impact, one by one we'll see that the how we can prepare the templates for this particular topic. The first one is the impact. Okay, impact wala question, either they can give the consequences, impact, effect, something like that. Here also there are variations. They either asking impact on the environment, or they are asking impact on the ecosystem, or they are asking impact on the climate, global climate. Okay, these are the most common type of environment, ecosystem, or the climate. These three words they are using us to write. Sometimes they have asked, one time they have asked like economic. That's not a difficult thing for us to write now. I mean, any environmental hazard, how it is impacting the economy, that is not going to be the issue. But here in the environment, these three dimensions they are asking: ecosystem, environment, and climate. Now we'll go one by one. That is, the 1.1 is going to be our environmental impact on environment. Impact on environment. This is the topic there. Impact on environment. This is going to be the first template for us. Now within this, as we know, we have divided the environment into the different component. Like we see the environment, I have already told this, that how the biodiversity, this which is the biological component, biodiversity is getting impacted. Now biodiversity, when we talk about biodiversity, it includes both forest, plant biodiversity, and the animal biodiversity. Okay, it will include both, that is plant biodiversity, how it impact like the deforestation, and the animal, that is the wildlife, animal biodiversity, plant biodiversity, animal biodiversity. Now this we called as the deforestation, and its impact we know. Deforestation and its impact we clearly know. Now here the animal biodiversity, the major impacts are, see, habitat fragmentation. Note down these keywords: habitat fragmentation or destruction, habitat loss. The first thing happens is the habitat. They lose their habit because of the pollution or the deforestation or any sand mining, any activity you take. First thing what happens, whether that river linking, if you are constructing the dam, forest has to be cleared, then the habitat gone. So the first impact is the habitat destruction or the habitat loss. Second, what happens is that whenever this kind of pollution happens, okay, the biggest impact is the habitat loss. Second is that their survival gets threatened. That the survival of these animals depends on one factor that is called as the food web. Food web disruption. Food web disruption. This is very important point here, because any kind of pollution, climate change, they disrupt the food web, right? Because there is interlinking. If any element got extinct or disrupted, then the whole food web gets disrupted. The third is called as the co-extinction. This is very common feature in any kind of biodiversity loss. Co-extinction means, see, there is interlinking. If you will remove all the deers from one forest, what will happen? Lions population will also decline, right? And gradually they can become extinct. That means when the one creature gets extinct, it also leads to the extinction of other dependent creature or the wild animal. So that concept is called as the co-extinction. And as we know that except this human beings who have the multiple source of, especially it is very important for the carnivores or those who are not herbivores. Herbivores have the ability to eat the plants, So plant diversity is more, but the animal diversity is less. And then the dependency, now this lion, big predators can't eat those insects. They need the big animals to eat, right? They can't depend on those small animals. So and catching them also is difficult for the lions. Can they catch the rabbits and the small squirrels? No, they cannot catch them, right? For them it's not possible. So for them, these kind of animals like the size of cow or the these deers, goats, these are important. Now in an ecosystem, if one such species get extinct, it also leads to the co-extinction, right? So this is happening in the ecosystem. And the last and the fourth is the invasive alien species. Have you heard about IAS? Right, invasive alien species. This is also the threat in the biodiversity, and it increases, their threat increases. In the polluted and the degraded ecosystem, the growth of invasive alien species are more abundant. They grow very aggressively compared to the existing or the indigenous species, right? Because the indigenous species may not be able to adopt, but this alien species, they grow vigorously. So these are the 4 different keywords you can use. No need to use all of them, but the keywords, remember: habitat fragmentation, food web disruption, co-extinction, invasive alien species. All 4 are the important keywords when you are mentioning the biodiversity threat or loss. If you are mentioning them, it is going to create your answer like an environmental answer. Okay, so this is the first area from the impact point of view you can write. The second is 1.2 is going to be the pollution, and here what we can write, 2 ways you can write: the impact on abiotic environment. This is nothing but the biological environment, or you can say biotic environment, right? We divide the environment or ecosystem in 2 parts: biotic component, abiotic component, right? So the biotic component getting impacted, this is the answer. How the abiotic environment, which includes different things, like you have the soil, so soil pollution happens, or the soil degradation, you can say, the common phenomena, right? Second, you can have the air pollution, air degradation, or water pollution, or water stress, that is the groundwater decline or the reduction in the water level, air pollution. Okay, this component try to bring in your answer. The last is 1.3, and that is the climatic environment, climatic factor. See, climatic is the part of abiotic only, but since the climate change is a very important topic for us, we should create that separate topic, separate aspect. Otherwise, that's also the part of it only. Okay, so here we know that how the climatic impacts are there. One is the rise in temperature rise, sea level rise. We know how it happens. Then you have the urban heat island effect. You know this concept, urban heat island effect? See, what happens is that if in the urban areas, if you see the structure of habitats, are like this. Now here what is that the ground is having lack of grasslands, lack of wetlands, lack of forest. Mostly this ground is what? Concrete. This is concrete, right? So what happens is that whenever the sunlight is coming to this particular area, what happens is that these concrete structures, buildings, along with this ground surface, what they do, they absorb the sunlight, that is the heat is getting absorbed. Here also heat gets absorbed into these buildings, right? Secondly, what happens is that after the absorption, as we know, the short wavelength is getting absorbed, and then the high wavelength infrared is gets released. That's the concept, right? Short wavelength enters, it's get absorbed, and that the high wavelength is released. That's the greenhouse effect, right? So that happens, and they start releasing what? The heat. They start releasing heat. After absorption, they start releasing heat. Now this heat, what happens is that gets trapped in this ecosystem here only. It's not able to go up or go out of this place, right? And that is called as when this heat is getting trapped, and that's where we feel the heat wave. These heat waves are not felt in the rural areas mostly, because they have the plants, water body to give the moderating effect to the temperature, and such moderating effect is not present in the urban area. And this effect, which is called as the urban heat island effect, this created a kind of island which is urban heat island effect. This is also a key word you can use in the climate point, urban heat island effect. Okay, this is also geographical phenomena as well as the environmental phenomena. This is another aspect you can see. The last is which will be somewhere you will use, that is the ecosystem services. You know the 4 services of ecosystem?
Conservative, regulated.
Yes. First is the productive services. That is, they provide products now, fruits, vegetables. Those are the first services, that is the productive. Second is the supportive. They support different activities. Then you have regulative, and then you have cultural and aesthetic, as well as educational. These 4 services. Regulatory means like the water purification, flood control. Supportive means like the nutrient cycling. These services get disturbed whenever any kind of hazard impacts the ecosystem. Okay, like the productive services, supportive services, regulative services, and cultural. Remember this. Whenever the ecosystem question is coming or the environmental, if you are able to mention this either in the form of like this, suppose you are mentioning like this, you can mention them like you can mention them like the productive services, supportive, regulative, and cultural services. These are the ecosystem services. When these services whenever this services goes through some pollution or any kind of environmental hazard, if the pollution is there, then what happens? These ecosystem services productivity and services gets declined, right? So this the pollution or environmental hazard, ecosystem services get disrupted. Okay, so if you want, you can present in such a way that will be the value addition in your answers. So at least the first 3 is very important, that is the abiotic, climatic, and the ecosystem services. If you need more points, you can use them. Impact on environment. Okay. Along with this, the 5th dimension, we should write one more point here, is the human environment. See, environment is not away from the human, right? Human are also the part of the environment, right? As a part of the abiotic factor, biotic factor. So the how human are getting impacted, how their health gets impacted due to the pollution and other thing, how poverty increases, how women gets impacted, right? You can think in those dimensions also, right? How food security gets impacted, yes, how livelihood gets impacted. Those all things you can bring. Human environment. Now we have covered all the aspects of environment. From here, at least bring 3-4 dimension. If you are able to bring in your answer, it will help. Okay, next second is that 1.2 is what? Impact on ecosystem. Impact on ecosystem. Now this ecosystem have the two major component. One is the you have the biotic component, second is the abiotic component. Now the biotic component, whenever the ecosystem they are asking, we know that clearly there are two components in the ecosystem. Environment we don't divide like that. Environment can be the human environment, this is the Ashok Nagar environment, micro environment. But the micro ecosystem definition is little difficult. It mostly comprises of the biotic and abiotic factor. And whenever we say the biotic, we talk about the producers, right? Producers, second consumers, and third what? Decomposers, isn't it? Producers, consumers, decomposers. Producers are plants. Consumers, we know that the primary consumers as well as the secondary and tertiary consumers. Okay, decomposers we know. These are the microbes like bacteria. They are also important for the ecosystem. So this is the another way of thinking about the question. If they ask a particular ecosystem, suppose they are asking the coastal ecosystem. Now it will be difficult for you to write about the previous dimension. There you talk about the producers, like the coastal ecosystem. What is the primary producer? Phytoplanktons are there. Very good. Then zooplanktons. Those are dependent on the phytoplanktons. That is part of corals only. What are the other primary producers in the coastal ecosystem?
Algae.
That's phytoplanktons. What? Algae, blue-green algae, cyanobacteria, different words of the same species. Mangrove is also the primary producer. That they are also present in the same ecosystem. And sea grasses are there, right? These are the primary producers. How they get impacted if the soil erosion is happening or the coastal erosion is happening? Then if you talk about the consumers, there are fishes, sea cow, like other like the crocodiles and other, how they are getting impacted. Then the decomposer microbes. In the coastal ecosystem, microbes will be little difficult to write because they are present at the bottom. So, but in the if they ask a terrestrial ecosystem or the grassland ecosystem, desert ecosystem, there the decomposers are also important for the nutrient recycling, right? So, if these decomposers are not able to function properly, then the recycling won't function properly, right? So, that is the biotic three only. We know that this is nothing like that we don't know. This we just study in the environment. I am asking you to think in this dimension. That's it. Okay. Second is that abiotic. Again same. We won't change. First is the climate, and climate whenever the climate, temperature, precipitation and humidity, relative humidity I am writing. These are the most common. The second is the edaphic. What is edaphic? Edaphic means soil. That's a geographic word of soil factors, like the soil, the chemical factor of soil, physical characteristic, or the biological characteristic. Biological we have already written. So physical and chemical characteristic. Chemical characteristic like pH. What is the pH? pH changes, or the nutrient availability changes. Physical means soil structure, texture, right? Soil, those are the important factors which changes. Biotic, abiotic, yes. And lastly, third is that you can go with the types of ecosystem also. If in general they ask like the what, how it impacts the ecosystem, talk about the coastal ecosystem. Second can be the Himalayan ecosystem. Then you can talk about Himalayan and coastal, these two. A desert ecosystem. You can talk about the forest ecosystem or terrestrial ecosystem. So those are the components also. Again, it broadens your thinking, because this coastal and Himalayan ecosystem they have asked multiple times. Those are the very vulnerable and very important ecosystems. They ask questions on it. One point 3 is impact on climate. See, the climate, whenever they are asking climate, think in the dimension. One is the atmosphere. Atmosphere makes our climate. Now how you divide the atmosphere, tell me?
Temperature.
Yes. Temperature.
Precipitation.
Yes. Precipitation. Same. Humidity. Right? Simple. 1 or 2 point is enough. Second, hydrosphere. Isn't it? Hydrosphere is also impacting the climate. For example, hydrosphere water cycle. Then precipitation, similar point. Along with that, in the hydrosphere, what other water bodies, like the water bodies like groundwater, surface water, ocean, how to impact this. Third, cryosphere. This is the very important topic, cryosphere. They asked direct question on this cryosphere. What is cryosphere?
A freezing.
What? Cryosphere. This is one of the previous year question of UPSC. What is cryo? Cryopreservation.
Just a freezing point. Cryo means something like
No, not cryo. Cryo is?
it's about 1,000 kilometers above the atmosphere.
Not kilometer, that's wrong, but it's about the temperature. Cryo preservation we say. Now when we decrease the temperature to minus 273 degree Kelvin or very low degree Celsius. So at that point of time, at that point of temperature, the microbial activities become almost zero. They can't function. So the degradation of the food products becomes low. So that way we preserve. Now those cryosphere means those locations in the world, in our earth, which are frozen, like Arctic, Antarctic, Himalayas. So wherever the ice caps are there or the ice covered or low temperature is there, such places are called as the cryosphere. Now the climate change have the huge impact on the cryosphere. You must have heard Arctic amplification. Have you heard Arctic amplification? See, the overall temperature of the world is rising because of the global warming. We all know that. But the rate of increase of temperature is higher in the Arctic compared to the other region. And that is called as the amplification, Arctic amplification. That is the higher rate of rise in the temperature in the Arctic and the cryosphere region. So the climate change have the greater impact in this cryosphere like the Arctic and Himalaya compared to the other. Okay, so that is the concept, and that's why UPSC have asked multiple times about the cryosphere impact on the Himalayan ecosystem, and that's why I want you to write a point separately on how it is impacting the cryosphere. And we know that the impact of cryosphere is directly impacting the global temperature. See, if the cryosphere gets impacted, as we know, this is 0, here you have the cryosphere, here you have the cryosphere, along with, let's say, the Himalayas have the cryosphere, right? Now, how these are important? Because there is thermohaline circulation is there. Here there is low temperature, here there is high temperature. This is the reason ocean currents starts flowing. There is the circulation of the water to maintain the temperature of the earth to the constant level, right? Now if they start getting heated, that means here the temperature will increase, still let's say the 0 degree to even increase the 1 degree Celsius. It will impact this whole circulation. If this whole circulation gets impacted, dependent on this, like the cyclones and other phenomena, the biodiversity, everything will get impacted, because whole earth heat balance is going to impact. So heat wave, tsunami, this all thing is going to rise. Okay, similarly, as you know, they are the rich source of the water. If temperatures start increasing, what will happen to the ice? Melt. If the ice will melt, then what will happen? Where that water will go? Ocean. And all oceans are connected. So the what will happen is the sea surface level will rise. Okay, and that rise will not only to that particular region but also the overall world. Right. Similarly, why the Himalayan ecosystem has given very focus is that because Himalayan ecosystem is important not only because of the water source they provide during the summer to our perennial river like Ganga, but also our monsoon is dependent on the Himalayas. So if Himalayas are getting melted, ice is getting melted, what will happen? It will impact our monsoon, and the monsoon predictability and its frequency is going to change. It will impact our agriculture, it will impact our food security and the poverty. So compared to the other regions, the Himalayas and this cryosphere, you can imagine the impact is more significant. And that's why the IPCC, you know the IPCC, International Panel on Climate Change, they have released special report on impact of climate change on the cryosphere, especially Arctic. Okay, so in that, if we have this understanding that this part is very important, if you can create a separate heading in your answer when they are asking about the climate, it is going to create a more matured answer. Okay, so that's why the cryosphere. Here you talk about one thing is the Himalayas, that is the Indian, second is the Arctic amplification. Arctic amplification. Atmosphere, hydrosphere and cryosphere. What is the fourth? Lithosphere. Lithosphere, like the forest, how it impacts the forest, land, then the land degradation. Or desertification, it leads to desertification. This is also the impact. Lastly, what is the next? Hydrosphere, atmosphere, cryosphere, lithosphere. What left? Yes, that's also there, no? Biosphere. Biosphere is what? Like the how it impacts the biodiversity. Mostly the climate is related to the biodiversity, and that's what we have this diagram now. The 5 effects. The atmosphere, biosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere and cryosphere, and this the center part is the climate action. Climate climate something is there. Climate system. This is the diagram from IPCC only. The climate system is studied under this 5 dimension, and the 5 dimension can help us to write answers regarding the climate. Okay, so these are the all type of question they can ask on the climate change, climate and the impact, and that can be used like this. Okay, next is the solution. What measures can be taken? Measures or the solutions. Give the similar solutions like we have what we had given in the geography. What we have given? Yes, structural solution can be there, non-structural solution can be there. Non-structural solution can be there. Okay, now this non-structural solution can be either you can have the policy, you can have the institution, you can have the technology, you can have the international cooperation, you can have the community engagement, and lastly is the financial. See, why I am giving this the more point is because they are emphasizing more on the actions taken, and since it is GS-3, they are going to ask us from the legal, policy and these initiatives and the actions they are going to ask, right? Structural, we can't get so many points. 2 points, either one physical structure, second is the biological structure, that forest fall apart. More than that we can't get points here, but here we can get more point. Here in the policy you can talk about either law, scheme or the policy, any policy. Okay, second, institution, we know technology or the scientific approach, like here it can be the bioremediation, such kind of technology can be used. International cooperation, as we know, different United Nations offices and the institutions are there. Community engagement is required, like the SHGs you can talk about here, SHGs, NGOs. Financial, like there is carbon credit system, polluter pay principle, you know this? If you are polluting, you should pay. Like similarly there is carbon tax. These are the financial mechanism you can suggest. Carbon tax should be imposed, carbon credit should be promoted, polluter pay principle should be followed, like that. These are the financial mechanisms. Here you can talk about SHGs, here you can talk about UN, here you can talk about bioremediation, institutions like the Panchayat and the other such institution you can talk. Here any law, you know, water pollution, you have the Water Act 1974, Air Pollution Air Act 1981, any environment topic, Environment Protection Act 1986, you can everywhere you can quote Environment Protection Act 1986. biodiversity, if the point is implementation of the Biodiversity Act 2002, effective implementation of Biodiversity Act 2002, that's there, right? So such kind of acts and we prepare for the prelims should be used in your answers. So this becomes the measures or solutions from the you can use this dimension to create. Now the initiative already taken by the government, last third is initiative taken. See, as I said in the previously also, you can see from the two dimension, that is based on the level of government. Based on level of government, either you talk about by the central government, second, or the local government, or global government. Either it can be global initiative, it can be the central or the national initiative, it can be local or the state initiative. So that way also you can divide. B, initiative level. Okay, now there is different types of initiatives can also be, or the components of initiative. Here do one thing is that first is the legal law, mention the law, it's framed for almost all environment hazard. Second, the policy or scheme made for a particular thing, for example climate change, there are some policies like National Action Plan on Climate Change, some scheme are there like the Green Agriculture Scheme or something. So some scheme we prepare, no? We have to put that. Third is institutional. This I have given in the disaster management also. Institutional, some institutions has been created to tackle them, like the Biodiversity Authority, National Biodiversity Authority. You have the local level Biodiversity Authority. To control the pollution, you have this Environment Protection Conservation Authority or something is there, right? Created under that Environment Protection Act 1986. Fourth, institutional policy, this is done, this is, and lastly, if you have any other, if you remember you can put there, but if you don't know anything, these three dimensions can help. Sometimes what happens is they ask initiative, and if you don't know specific, suppose they asked what are the initiative taken for the conservation of corals, now directly you don't know. But if you know this framework, you can write. Law, you know, Environment Protection Act. Don't you think the coral will be included there? Biodiversity Act 2002, it will be added. So at least 2 points you can easily write. Policies and the schemes are there, like coastal regulation zone, marine protection areas, even the creation of national park, biosphere reserves are the initiative to protect them, marine biodiversity biosphere reserve is there, national park, Sundarban National Park for the mangroves, those are the initiatives. We don't know the direct initiative, but we know these things which are used to protect them only, right? Can be written here. Institutionals, yes, we have this coastal regulation committees or the authority is there, environment protection authority is there, they are the institutions to protect them. You can easily write any topic. Suppose there are sand mining, now you don't know the exact one, but you know Environment Protection Act, that's also protect. Environment impact assessment rules are there, Environment Protection Act is there, and then some institutions like those institution, Environment Protection Authority, at least some point you will write, you won't leave it. Otherwise, what you will write if you don't know this framework? You have to leave that. Okay. So such kind of, the best thing is that we should be prepared for those things. But if you are not prepared, then we can use these things. Or if you know also, you can frame them in such a way. If you know very specifically about the environment, sand mining, you put these other like schemes first and put them later. If you don't know, put them up. That is smartness you need. Okay, so this was the analysis and the type of questions which they ask. According to me, this is important. Okay, let's see now the questions. The first question was on the linking of two rivers. River linking was a concept, but it is becoming a reality in the country. Discuss the advantages of river linking and its possible impact on the environment. Possible impact on the environment. Now, river linking refers to the interbasin transfer of surplus water of one basin to deficit water basin. So it's simple definition of river linking, but here conceptualized post-independence Ken-Betwa project among others made it reality to address this line. Linking was a concept but is becoming reality. Ken-Betwa proved that it's now a reality. Small diagram showing the surplus river, deficit river, water transfer canal. That's the diagram. Next, advantages of river linking: economic advantage, energy production, agricultural prosperity, ecological prevention of droughts by providing provision of water in summer, biodiversity rejuvenation, habitat loss can be prevented, social reduced migration, as well as the drinking water problem can be solved. So the three dimension I used: economic, ecological and the social. 2 points, 6 points. Drinking water, irrigation, you have this energy production, you can prevent the biodiversity loss, and those all things you can see. However, it has the possible negative impacts on environment too, like biodiversity threat is the major impact. As we know how to create the points for the environment, deforestation is the first point. Then you have the habitat fragmentation, keyword I told, interbasin fish migration to disrupt the ecological balance. Particularly I talked about fish. What happens is that two river is linked. Now what will happen, the one fish from one habitat will go to that fish during that linking. So they can disrupt the ecological balance, because that fish may not be adopted to that particular place, or that may become the predator for the existing fish. So that's the problem. Climate threat: emission of the greenhouse gases from reservoirs like CH4, you know, whenever there is water stagnation, it will release the CH4, methane. That's a greenhouse gas. Then reduce carbon sequestration, because forest is gone. So who will sequestrate the carbon? So that's the problem. Here solution: environment impact assessment along with the financial and social assessment can help in its sustainable implementation. This is the keyword I used from the syllabus itself. As we know, any developmental project which has the significant impact on the environment, try to use this word, environment impact assessment. Okay, understood the question and the topic? Straightforward question, just the structuring of the answer. Now next, explain the causes and effect of the coastal erosion and what are the coastal management techniques for combating the hazard. Available technologies, okay, they are asking. First is the causes, again direct question, no need of complexity is not there. Coastal erosion is a permanent loss of coastal features like beaches, stacks, terrace, etc. I mean, we read coastal features. If they are getting eroded, that's a coastal erosion. Again, it's a geographical term, that's why I explained. That was also basin linking, that was also the conceptual term. So explanation required. So causes of the coastal erosion, as we divide natural cause and anthropogenic cause. Natural, here also small diagram, waves are there, erosion is happening, this is sea, this is coastline, not a difficult one. Okay. Then natural causes: wave effect, ocean current, storm surges during the tidal activities. They erode, that is the natural one. Anthropogenic means like the sand mining, infrastructure like ports, deforestation, mangrove cutting like in West Bengal, Sundarban. Effects in India: biodiversity loss, biodiversity angle, carbon sequestration, there is a climate change angle, economic loss due to the fish decline, and socio-cultural decline in the sacred groups. If one stake was there that eroded, earlier you used to worship it, now it eroded, cultural loss. Then they asked about the coastal management techniques, structural techniques like the retaining walls, artificial reefs, structures, mangrove plantation, etc. structural. Non-structural techniques, hazard zonation, coastal hazard they said, right? Regulation of the sand mining, GIS mapping, community participation. These are non-structural techniques available, right? Then coastal ecosystem conservation is necessary to achieve SDG 13, 14, 15, life on land, life below earth, and the climate action, linking with the SDG. As we know, GS-3 is the most common, for the conclusion we can use what? SDG. So here you could have used the SDG. Now see the structure. Here one diagram is there, well defined, and the presented points. Here also effect, management, conclusion. This also. Okay. Question number 3. Industrial pollution of river water is a significant environmental issue in India. Okay. The theme is industrial pollution. Discuss the various mitigation measures to deal with the problem and also the government initiatives. So 2-part mitigation measure you have to suggest, and you have to talk about the government initiatives taken. Now here the key word is the industrial pollution. You can just define it. Okay. Then showing like significant environmental issue in India, like air pollution in Delhi because of industrial pollution, right? Emission, air emission. Damodar river has been declared as the biological desert because of the huge pollution. There are the coal mines near that Damodar river, the Raniganj and other. So that is causing Damodar river pollution. We know the Musi river here in Hyderabad. Polluted industry have the huge role in it. Then the soil degradation in Punjab and other regions because of the industrial effluent. So this is showing the significant environmental issue in India. Mitigation measures to deal with such problems, the policy and regulatory, strict enforcement of this act, due process of environment impact assessment, technological measures, zero discharge technology, Tirupur textile zero discharge, and then you have pre-release treatment. Before release, treat it. Like the Tata have used, Tata Steel. Then you have this financial measures, polluter pay principle we have already discussed. Compensation of carbon credit mechanism can be used. Okay, so dimension, policy, financial, technological dimensions can be used here. Right. Then government initiative in this regard, legal initiative they have taken. The standards they have defined, like how much you can release, what is the parameter. Institutional state environment clearance committees are there. Technological, like subsidies they are providing for electrostatic precipitator. You know this? Basically what they do, the air will flow, 2 electrodes will be there. So this electrodes with high electricity, they will attract the particles. So only the clean air will go. Pollutants will be attracted by these electrodes. So that's called electrostatic precipitator. These are used for the air pollutants, scrubbers and those all things. R&D on the green technology like the green steel, others heavy. I didn't know much. These are the created points. I didn't know exactly the initiative for the industrial pollution. So you have to create here points based on whatever knowledge you have. You don't have other choice, right? If you know, that's a very good. Don't know, then you have to do that. Okay, very general conclusion. Industrial pollution combat is necessary for sustainable development and healthy life. This is very general. You can improve it. You can write better. Next is the discuss the global warming and mention its effect on the global climate. Explain the control measures bring down the level of greenhouse gases which causes the global warming. Now global warming is the key word here. Refers to long-term heating of the earth's surface due to the rise of global greenhouse gases release. The small diagram showing the mechanism, and as per IPCC, this is the human is the cause of it. Then effect of global warming on the global climate, atmospheric disruptions like the rise in the average temperature 1.07 degree, hydrospheric changes like the changing precipitation pattern, for example rise in monsoon variability as per IMD, sea level rise, this is hydrosphere, I mean this ocean wala, due to the increased heating and the melting of glaciers, cryospheric instability like Arctic amplification, Forest fire on rise, 30% increase in the India. A small diagram. This global measures to bring, control measure to bring down the greenhouse gases. Afforestation is the common thing. Green economy, we have to bring like the green agriculture, for example Sikkim organic. Green and clean transportation, EVs, because it's asking us to reduce the greenhouse gases. How you will reduce? By adopting the green technology or absorbing it, right? Then the policy like the green financing by RBI. Global collaboration is required like the finalization of climate finance under the COP. Such initiatives requires political commitment to achieve the goal of Paris Agreement 2015. This is a better conclusion because here fact is there. Paris Agreement 2015, linking with the Paris Agreement. Anything here? Any doubt here? Clear? Try to use them in other questions also, as well as try to see the answer again, especially what points we can learn, how the templates has been used, and value addition, this part. Okay. So environment will close from the next time. I think, I don't know, I think economy or polity is there, not sure. It will be updated today only. Okay, so from Monday there will be the new subject. You can take your papers. Okay, because I've seen the answers. That is the evaluation. See, again we are not giving that marks for part. That's not required because you're not writing by preparing now. If you write with the preparation, if I have prepared this and then you're writing, then marks, you will also feel like, okay, my marks are increasing. Here every subject is a new subject for us, kind of, because we are not writing and revising. If I'll judge you, I'll give you marks based on the content, then there is no point. Because content anyhow, I know that you are not prepared. You are not prepared about the interlinking of river, you are not prepared about climate change, global warming. Then if I'll start judging and giving marks, there is, basically you can't see the growth. Every subject is new. For every subject we have to see that, we have to see how exactly the structuring, framework and everything. So we are starting from the zero kind of thing for every subject. If we can go the same subject for multiple times, then we can see the improvement in our marks. So marks is not important. What is important is that are we addressing the demand of the question? Are we able to structure our answer? Are we able to generate the points? Are we able to understand the PYQ, patterns, some template and the value addition? These all things, as you see that now you started making the diagrams, now earlier you were making only maps, now you started thinking about at least I can draw diagram, right? So that is the gradual progress and that is only we have to notice. And if I see the major issue in your answer, I will point out here itself so that you get the clarity. I was trying to give marks, but then when I shifting from art and culture to modern history, the content is the important parameter for the giving marks now. And content is not the parameter here to judge you because you are not prepared. I can't judge you based on the content. So that's why it's difficult to give the marks, and I don't think marks is required also. That you will write when the full length test or the half length test, then the marks is after revision. Suppose you revise for 1 week one particular subject, then you wrote the test, then you can seek for the marks. This is not the marks wala program. This is the how we grow, practice and the learn the answer writing, right? It's not a test series for sure, right? It's not a test series. Test series is where we give marks. This is not the test series. This is the practice and the learning the answer writing. So that is not required. Okay.